Hi, my name is Greg Troxell, the creator of the Emotivational Spectrum, the person who oversees the EMS practitioner training. I'd like to provide you in this video a little brief introduction to how it came to be and uh, its foundational type of work. Now, as part of my background with marketing, behavioral psychology, and ministry, I've been involved in a lot of different environments and with a lot of folks who are struggling with all types of vices in their lives, experiencing great virtue, and having all types of difficulty. Now, behavioral psychology really looks at the core of the person. Theology is a framework by which we might find truth, if you want to think of it that way. But what I was looking for was something to deal with the emotional experience of people. That is, how they are processing and where that is developing, how it's increasing or growing. And so as a counselor, working with different individuals, I found that I began to have this framework in my mind, certainly based off of some of the other sociobiological elements and teachers. So a gentleman by the name of Robert Plutchik was where thrust me forward as I looked at emotion and his, what he calls a circumplex model. But I found in it a shortfall in that it just dealt with the emotion. It didn't deal with the, what I would call activators, nor the motivations inside a person, nor that element where we get stuck. So the emotivational spectrum frames, if you will, three elements. And at one side, at the top, let's say, we have activators. And the activators are those things from the external source that affect us, right? They're things that happen, good and bad. And some of these, as good examples, would be things like opportunity and affection, or the ability for dialogue and respect. But some of the bad ones include neglect, include things like unexpected change. And so as we experience those, what happens at the top level is people then begin to increase, the emotional experience increases as the intensity of that activator intensifies in their lives. Now, that brings them to a precipitous chasm. Now, this is where I placed the vices. And looking throughout all historical documents and world religion, from Christianity to Buddhism to paganism and all sorts of activity, I charted out the correlations between these activators and what the climactic event would lead to, and that is that intractable conflict. The intractable conflict that's either intrapersonal, inside the individual themselves, or interpersonal, between individuals, a husband and a wife, a parent and a child, or society, at a societal level, at a national, global level. And so the complexity and the application of this model is immense. And so it's going to take some study to understand it all. Well, one of the problems that happens here, particularly in America, is that our puritanical roots and our own personal apprehension towards the intractable conflict leads people often into a reactive lifestyle. And so experiencing something as it grows, positive or negative, experiencing the positive activator or the negative activator as it takes its form and increases in intensity, it leads that individual or us into that precipitous chasm where we have to make a choice. The choice is either, do we press through, or do we turn back and try to lessen the experience? So most of the vices, most of the things that cause that vicious cycle in our lives where things and habits are not able to be broken are because we've not learned and paid attention to the motivational need that's on the other side. And we're living a reactive lifestyle. The danger and the peril that comes in that vice is undesirable to us and others. And so we repeal, we pull back, and we try to diminish the temptation, diminish the experience. But the problem is it doesn't really satisfy. The vice doesn't satisfy, nor does pulling back, because what we really want is the motivator that's drawing us and leading us to the false experience of depth and strength that's in that vice or that behavior. So the correlation to the motivator is what really allows us to live a life of virtue and absolute unitive freedom. This is what humanity needs. We have focused for too long on the issues, and those issues divide us. But the issues, those causes that people care about, are because they care about having some motivational need met. So, if we can focus on the common motivational need, first to bring ourselves to vitality, a sense of wellness and well-being, and then interpersonally with a few others in our family or our closest friends, and then in our own local community or in our own nation or around the world. When we can focus on our shared common motivations, those motivational needs, then we can say there is reason for diversity in this. See, one of those motivators, give you an example, would be belonging. Another one adjacent to that is connection. And adjacent to that is value, and then autonomy, safety, and certainty. There are 16 in all. So the emotivational spectrum breaks things down into 16 columns with an activator, the correlating increasingly perilous emotions that lead us to the chasm. Crossing the chasm, we end up in a virtuous, more positive sense of emotional experience. And then as those we reach to the depths of what our motivational need is, then we have that virtue. So the emotions function for us as an indicator light, as a way of recognizing the experience. Are we being reactive or proactive? Are we on the top half of the spectrum or on the lower half of the spectrum? And which direction is it moving? Is our emotional experience increasing, leading us toward the chasm? Now this could be increasing from the top down, the activator increasing, or the diminishing emotional experience when we lose sight of our motivational needs and all of a sudden we approach the same chasm. This is why people find themselves at a place of belonging in a relationship, leading to an empty, hollow relationship that involves occasional passion. Or on the reciprocal side of that, the activator of affection leads a person to lust. Passion and lust are very close together, right there at the chasm. And so, while passion is good and desired, it can be itself vain and empty when it's not rooted in a sense of belonging. The belonging is what we really want. That's what makes the passion so rich. So this is just one example that helps you understand what we mean by the emotivational spectrum and what you can learn when I begin to teach you how to be an EMS practitioner and use this in your practice as a counselor, a therapist, or a pastor. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you'll connect with us at Emotivational Guru, www.emotivational.guru. Have a good day.